good afternoon. It's lovely to see you all, and a very happy Wednesday to you all. I hope you're having a good week and all fit and healthy. We've got a real treat for you today, so I'm really excited to introduce the Honourable William Stonor, who I hope you can see, and we're going to have a proper chat with William in a minute. So let me first of all do a screen share so we can get some nice pictures up. There we go. So, as we say, this is all about creating something amazing for your clients, and this is one of our favourite days that we love creating because we get such wonderful feedback about it. Stonor Park and William and Elsa are our very favourite neighbours, we have to say. It's just 5 miles down the road from Henley, and they always give our clients the warmest possible welcome, and will certainly happily do the same for yours. So the wonderful thing about the location of Stonor is it's probably about an hour or so from London, so fits perfectly into an itinerary that is more London based or heading out here. So between us, William and I will share just some of the delights that your clients can enjoy when visiting Stonor. It's the most amazing estate, and really sad that at this time of year, when it's so beautiful, no one is visiting this year, sadly. But we can certainly move beyond that and look forward to happier days, because I've certainly spent many happy times at Stonor, both as a visitor and in a work capacity, and it's lovely seeing William here today. So, William, just want to say hello and thank you so much for joining us.
No, delighted to be here this afternoon. In the morning, obviously, for you all in America. Thanks very much for setting it up, and delighted to let everybody know a little bit more about Stonor, which has been my family's home for over 850 years. I'm the 29th generation, amazingly, in a row to have lived here. We're obviously very unadventurous. We don't like moving. That's not really
Well, I'm delighted to hear it. Please don't go anywhere. So we're just going to share a little bit of, as you know, I love my history. So we're going to share a little bit of the history and some beautiful pictures. And here's just some video footage to show you the setting of Stonor Park and its beautiful surrounding estate. When was the E shape established, William?
The house was built over many years. I mean, normally when you look at it from the front, it looks very, very symmetrical, although with that aerial shot now, you can see that there are many buildings that go back, and the house very unusually is built right into the hill. So, you know, I'm sitting in one of the dining rooms on the ground floor at the front of the house, just to the right of the front door there is where I'm currently sitting, and on the ground floor, but actually the rear of the house, it's underground. To get to the gardens, you have to go up to, I was about to say the first floor, but actually in the States, that'll be the second floor. And the house, you know, was built over many centuries, and it came to its current shape around the late 1500s, because basically there was an original medieval hall from 1150, which is at the back of the right-hand side of the building there that you can see. And then added many different parts of the house, and it started to take a shape, and then it was unified as you see it now in the late 1500s. The windows used to be leaded windows like you would be used to be seeing at sort of Hampton Court, and they were changed in the 18th century to get a bit more light into the house. So you might look at it and think that doesn't look like a 16th century building, but in fact it is.
Fantastic. And the beautiful garden that we can see behind is very carefully and lovingly tended by your dear wife, William, isn't it?
Yeah,
She's very talented.
she oversees the gardens. I mean, the gardens, we amazingly, we have the receipt here for the garden wall from 1450. And so there have been gardens here for a very long time. But my wife, who is a trained landscape designer, worked for those who are interested to know about modern landscape design, worked for Tom Stewart Smith, who's won I don't know how many gold medals at Chelsea Flower Show, sadly not taking place this month. Yeah, so that's her great passion and love. So amongst other things, she oversees the gardens.
Wonderful. And here we have a bit of footage of the room in which you are currently
I am
sitting.
sitting. Yes, the table isn't decorated like that, but at the moment. But yes, I'm in the blue dining room at the moment.
And the wall covering is quite distinctive, isn't it, in that room?
Yeah, so this the wallpaper in here was collected by a cousin of mine called Francis Stonor, who was a very, very clever art collector, both pre and post-war, and he collected this wallpaper, which was designed by probably the most famous wallpaper designer, a man called Dufour from Paris, in 1780. Actually, this wallpaper you can actually still buy, but it's not cheap. But it's a very specialist wallpaper. But what's interesting about what we have here is that it was the original wallpaper that was done making woodblocks. So it's called Les Monuments de Paris, and it's all the famous buildings of Paris put next door to each other, rather strangely, along the Seine with mountains behind. So it's obviously a very sort of imaginary scene. But what's very special about this wallpaper, and some people just come to the house to see this wallpaper, is that this is from the original hand blocks, of which there would be probably several thousand individual hand blocks to make this. Later, when printing the process were evolved, they automated it, and that's what you can buy now. But this is the original one, which would have taken about 3 years to make, about 300 craftsmen involved.
Wow, that's incredible, and it's even better in the flesh. So when your clients come, they'll absolutely love it. Now, the history of your family, William, is quite extraordinary. I mean, your ancestors have been involved, I think, in every major historical event in our country's history. So can you give us a bit of a potted history going back over the 850 years?
So the first member of the family that we're aware of, and we obviously were around like everybody prior to 1150, but the first member of the family that we know of, that we have records of, Robert Stonor from 1150. He was the first person that we know of to have lived here, to have built the first part of the house. And the family did very well for the first 300 years through the wool trade. This area of England back in the medieval centuries was responsible for producing some of the very best wool in Europe. And actually the wool here was taken just down the road, 5 miles down the road to Henley-on-Thames, and put on barges at Henley, and would have been sailed all the way down to London. And it was then actually all exported. This is in, back to 1300s, exported to both what was then Flanders, current day Belgium, Holland, and to Italy, where it went into the very best tapestries. They also were very much involved in law, which was a profitable thing to be involved in those days, law as in at a government level. And they were also very adept, dare I say, at marrying heiresses. There was a marriage in the 1400s where a member of the family married an heiress who brought with her not just one estate, but 27 estates. And so by the time of the Reformation, the family had one of the largest land holdings in the country, about 600,000 acres. And that stretched all the way down to the south west of the country, down to Cornwall, and all the way up to the north to Lancashire and a large area of London. the family's fortunes, though, then took a turn for the worse because we chose to remain Roman Catholic, which was a very dangerous and risky thing to do post the Reformation, post the Act of Supremacy, and in particular during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I. The family went through a very, very dark time. The family always remained loyal to the crown, but just wished to continue to practice its faith the way they always had. And they were responsible for hiding Catholic priests who were sent from Rome to try and keep the Catholic faith going, including the most famous of these, what are called recusant saints, a man called a Jesuit priest called St. Edmund Campion, who was hidden here during the reign of Queen Elizabeth. And that is a whole story, an adventure, which quite a few people are working on making a film on at the moment. But because of that, the family fortunes really suffered. And so for the following 250 years, the family had to pay triple taxes on all normal taxes and extra anti-Catholic taxes up until 1829, when thankfully the punishment for being Catholics, which extended to not being able to hold a job, go to school, hold a profession, all came to an end. And then the family was obviously able to get back into society, which it did very quickly. An ancestor of mine, straight after that in 1829, he became a member of Parliament, the first member of the family to be a member of Parliament since the early 1500s. And he was then made a Lord, and actually he was Lord in waiting to Queen Victoria for 30 years. And so the family very much quickly got back into society. And interestingly, my father was the very first Roman Catholic Lord Chamberlain to our current Queen. That is the position that is the head of the royal household, her most senior employee, effectively. And that was interesting because at the same time, he was and has been for the last 40 years advisor to the Vatican on all their finances. My father's a banker.
Fabulous. And there's the beautiful photograph of your father with both the Queen and the Pope, isn't there, in the Gothic Wall?
There is, indeed, yeah.
Yeah, which is
his two bosses at the time.
Yeah, so certainly been through a lot, but I think, as you said, that the key thing was that they always remained loyal to the crown, and
Absolutely.
So that was absolutely key. Well, thank you for that. That was a wonderful bit of potted history.
Well,
And
whistle
when you're
stop.
sorry,
I say it was a bit whistle stop, but it gives you a flavour.
it was, but it's wonderful, and the priest's hole at the top of the house is a real favourite. So when your clients visit William in his home, he can they'll really see what it was all about. Now the building itself is quite amazing, and I love all the stories of the family histories and the heraldry and so on in the Gothic Hall. Can you share a little bit more about?
Yeah, I mean, so as I mentioned earlier, the house. What the interesting thing about us remaining Catholic and going through a very difficult period was that what I'm sure if the family had carried on to have been as successful as it had been, I'm sure the house here would have been pulled down and they would have built the house of the fashion of the style of the era. A Palladian building or something like that. And what's special, actually, what people do find very unique and enjoyable about visiting here is that it is all the original buildings. As I say, it's not a building that was built in one time. It was built over effectively about 400 years as they added one bit to another and then unified it at the front. The Gothic Hall, which is one of two halls in the house that Sam mentions, was redecorated in 1780 in a Gothic revival style, which was very popular at the time, and it does include the heraldry of all the family, and so there are heraldic shields for every generation, from myself going all the way back to that very first member of the family that we know of, and yes, it's a lovely room, and it is a very fine example of what they call the Strawberry Hill style.
Absolutely. And you've your family has contributed a little bit to the special relationship between us and America, haven't they?
Well, it's nice you put it like that. I'd like to think so. My great grandmother was a Brown from Providence, Rhode Island. Brown, as in Brown University. My great grandfather married Mildred Brown in 1904 in New York, and she came back and lived here through until the war, and then actually my great grandfather and great grandmother, they returned to live in Newport, which is where I have a ridiculous number of relations still, and we are typically there every few years. We were there for our holidays last summer, and so yeah, we the American side of the family is very important to us. You won't be able to see it, but actually in this room there are wall sconces with candelabra over the end with the American eagle on, and not today, but normally, actually no, we do. The wine decanters behind me on the table are they have a big B on and the Brown family crest. And so we are we're very proud of our American connections, and there is a lot of items here in the house that have come from the Brown side of the family. My father has done a lot of business with America over the years, and I was a diplomat for the British government myself for 8 years, and the last job that I had was I was responsible for liaising with the US State Department on counterterrorism affairs for the British government. So I was in Washington every other month for 3 years, which was a real highlight of my career so far.
Fantastic. Thanks very much. I think it's a wonderful story, and I love the fact that you're all still so close and see.
We are. No, we really are. We're in touch with our, my American cousins. We're in touch with on a weekly basis. We're really very close.
Mm-hmm. And continuing on from Monday, when we visited Stonehenge, on a slightly smaller scale, Stonehenge, there is a stone circle in front of your house, isn't there?
There is, and that's where we get our name from. So the family name originally was de Stonora, of the stony place, and it's because there is a pagan stone circle here. And you can see it in the picture there. It's just in front of the house. It's not as big as Stonehenge, but it is our own pagan stone circle. And interestingly, there has always clearly been people living here and worshipping here, and the chapel that we have here, which is from 1250, is actually built on the corner of one of the corners of the chapel is actually built on one of the stones of the stone circle. So clearly people have been here for thousands of years, and yes, that's why my name is what it is.
Fantastic. And the chapel is so beautiful, isn't it? And also obviously guests can visit when they come to see you.
Absolutely, yeah. Guests can visit, and people get married there. Mass is celebrated there every Sunday. So yeah, it's a private chapel but open to everybody.
And many of our guests have loved visiting the estate, to visit the beautiful house, but also to make the most of the beautiful grounds, and have enjoyed falconry and clay shooting experiences and so on. And one of the absolute highlights are all the deer that you normally see just happily wandering through the parkland, don't they?
They are. I'm just looking out the window right now. As I'll turn that, they're not right in front now, but normally they are. Often they are right up to the house. But yes, so a deer herd here since Norman times. So the deer that we have here are large fallow deer, and they were brought by the Normans from France to England. And this was a very early deer park, and actually during the reign of actually Henry VIII, the royal court at Hampton Court was provided, its venison was provided from Stonor. And no, we're very lucky. The grounds here are very beautiful. I'm obviously incredibly biased, but they're very dramatic. The Chilterns the Chiltern Hills are a very dramatic landscape with deep, sharp valleys, and it's difficult to tell from photographs really, but we're in a very, very hilly spot. And what's so hard to believe, when you're within the park here, you cannot see any other houses. It's totally private. Even at quite a long distance, the way it's been designed and developed over hundreds of years, that we are, what's so amazing is we are, less than an hour from Hyde Park Corner. And you have to pinch yourself. and people often comment, they're like, my goodness, I just have no idea that you could be in such quiet rural location so close to London. And we're only half an hour from Heathrow. We're blessed with our location.
Most definitely. We just need to ask guests to turn left instead of right when they get off the plane at Heathrow, and then they'll come in the right direction, won't they? So
yeah.
So yes. And also, one of the wonderful things about Stonor is all of the events that you put on, and all the way through the year, from all those amazing cars that are all parked in front of the house and on the grass and so on, through to wonderful food festivals later in the year. Well, hopefully the craft and antiques fairs and food and Christmas festivals at least still will be able to happen this year.
No, absolutely. I mean, at the moment, like the whole world's locked out, isn't it? But yes, no, we have a fantastic program of events throughout the year. We have probably about 10 major events now a year. We would have been having our big Stonor, well, it's actually called Stonor Supercar Sunday now. Would have been taking place next weekend, and that's something that we started just 2 years ago, but it's already been awarded as a breakout car event globally in the sort of most prestigious motoring awards that there are for the motoring industry, when we have about 200 old and new wonderful cars on the front lawn, and then we have craft fairs, antique fairs. We're due to have Antiques Roadshow filmed here this year, BBC Antiques Roadshow. It's had to be delayed, but it will be filmed later in the year now. And food festivals, and as you say, we also have wonderful Christmas events, which we started just 2 or 3 years ago, and they're now, they really are one of our most popular things that we do.
Yeah, it's lovely. But I think certainly you've got a wonderful balance between these events are great, but there's enough opportunity to enjoy the estate without everything going on. So for those clients who want something a little quieter and more intimate, there's plenty of opportunity.
Yeah, no, we very much designed it that way so that we would have certain a certain number of big events during the year, which then enables us to be really quiet the rest of the year.
Perfect. That sounds like a perfect plan. Now, we're going to show you some really lovely videos of some of the interior decorations at Christmas time at Stonor, because it turns into a real winter wonderland, which is fabulous. But we also wanted to share with you a wonderful family experience that we created for a lovely American family who were over last Christmas, and they wanted a really special family dinner. They didn't just want to go to another restaurant. There were 3 family birthdays that they were celebrating, and so they spent the evening of I think it was the 23rd of
It
December.
was. It was the 23rd of December. Yeah.
Yeah, at Stonor, and they loved every moment of it, from sweeping down the drive in their chauffeur-driven car, and to be greeted by a butler at the front door, and taken through into the Gothic Hall, where there was a roaring fire, the biggest Christmas tree on the planet, with lots of wonderful decorations, and they absolutely loved as they were standing there being with their glass of champagne, and William walked in and he said, welcome to my home. This is where my family have lived for the last 850 years. And from that moment on, I think they were your firm friends, William. They
Yeah.
still,
No, we had
you
a
know,
lovely evening. We had a lovely evening. Yeah.
and it was super. It was a very low key evening, because William took them on a lovely tour of his home, sharing all of the anecdotes and stories and so on. And then they went off and had a quiet family dinner, the five of them, obviously being waited on by their butler, with lovely wine pairings and all that sort of thing. And then a magician turned up just after dessert, and the children who
I have
were
to say, he's still the best magician I've ever seen, Sam. He really, I'm not just saying that. I still think about him, and one day I'm going to get him to come and do something for me, because he was. I just don't know how he did what he did.
Yes, I think the father was slightly concerned when his watch disappeared, and it was a rather expensive, beautiful watch, but I'm very relieved when it was returned. But this is the kind of thing that we can create for your clients. I mean, it can happen obviously at Christmas, but any time of the year, and it really is incredibly, incredibly special. So here are some of the decorations from last year, and you do a different theme every
Yeah, we
year,
do. We have a
William, don't
different
you?
theme every year for Christmas. So that the way it is decorated has a theme to it. Last year was a candlelit Christmas, and we change it every year. There's our 18-foot Christmas tree, and in the Gothic Hall. Yeah, so we change it each year, and we have great fun with it.
It's beautiful. You do
I
it.
think the thing about Stonor is that what makes it different is it is very much still our home, which I know is the case with the likes of, say, Blenheim Palace or Chatsworth. But I think they are, how do I put this? You know, they have so many visitors going around them, and the family have been sort of, you know, are not really there anymore. But whereas this is our home, it's not open every day of the year at all. And I think that's what, you know, people like, be it just general visitors who come around the house on open days for general visitors, as well as, you know, your kind of clients that might like to come here. It is you know, it's still a lived-in house. It's a working estate, and you know, we're very happy to, you know, share that with people.
Perfect. And that's why you're the best neighbours to have, William. So as I say, location wise, about an hour from London, so easy to do for the day, but also, I mean, it's a hop, skip and a jump, probably 20 minutes from Cliveden or down to Cowth Park and so on.
Yeah.
So it's perfectly positioned to go on and explore Oxford and Windsor, and obviously our beautiful hometown of Windsor, of Henley, I should say, Windsor of Henley. Now, as usual, we've given you a bit of a feel for an itinerary here, of what your clients could do arriving 10ish, and William and Ailsa will greet them and give them a wonderfully guided tour of their beautiful manor house. And after a rather lovely lunch, they can take part in some country pursuits of falconry or clay shooting or anything like that. So it's making the most of the beautiful home and the grounds as well. And they could not feel more quintessentially English for the day, could they, William?
No, absolutely. We can organise, really whatever people want. And I think it's always special to have a meal in the house. I should have said earlier that you'll be amused to know that we really do have a very lucky to have a wonderful chef here who you'll be surprised to know is from upstate New York. I would highly recommend, that he organises a lunch or dinner. Either if we're available and it fits and it works, we could join. We're very, very happy just to welcome people here and then let people just enjoy themselves on their own.
Perfect. Yeah, that's wonderful. And just as William was saying, this sort of is a provisional itinerary for what your clients could enjoy if they choose to have a wonderful or a magical evening at Stonor. We can fit it around their plans. So that's our visit to Stonor. I hope you've enjoyed it. There you will find a couple of episodes of Humphreys TV, both on the website and on YouTube, where we've done quite a bit of filming at Stonor because it is a bit of a favourite. So you can see and learn a little bit more. But now, William and I both happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I just had a question. Are garden tours available?
Absolutely, yep. They can either be done by my wife, who is obviously very knowledgeable about the garden, or we do actually have specialist guides for the garden as well.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. We've had one question about the sort of typical type of experiences. I hope we may have answered that. Anything from guided tours to hosted or private lunches and dinners, through to falconry and clay shooting and wonderful country pursuits in the ground. So, okay, great. I've got an answer that she's happy.
Good. You can hot air balloon off the front lawn, whatever you want.
We have had another question just coming in the chat about whether it's possible to stay overnight.
It isn't, I'm afraid. No, that's one thing that we don't do. It's something I think about, but it's I think the real reason why we don't is that I think you probably agree that the types of clients you have, what they would expect and want, is difficult to provide really here. We obviously do have the staff here at home, but I think perhaps our feeling was that it's not going to be like staying at Clifton or the Manoir Quatre Saisons, and I think we would worry that whilst I think it would probably be I'm sure it would be just as special. We have wonderful bedrooms. I think that's our feeling. So we don't do that. No, sadly not. What we do though is, but this might be a bit adventurous, is that we do organise amazing glamping in the park. But I don't know whether that's up at the street of your clients.
Well, it's great to know that it's possible. Have we had any other questions? I think looks like we've answered all of their questions, which is great news.
I just wanted to say, I think that the car rally is brilliant. It's a brilliant idea, and congratulations on your success.
It has been. We did it. We just thought we'd do it 2 years ago, and we put it up on the internet because it's a combination of about 200 cars that the owners of the cars bring along to the event, and then the general public come to see them. And when we did it 2 years ago, we thought, oh, let's just this could be fun. Let's see what happens. So we put it up on Facebook as an event on Facebook on a Friday. And on the Monday morning, someone in the office said to me, there's something strange going on with our ticketing system. We sold 1,000 tickets over the weekend. I said, what do you mean sold 1,000 tickets over the weekend? And literally, it's just been the most popular thing.
That's
People love
fantastic.
it. It's
Yeah,
great.
brilliant.
It's got bigger and bigger. And, you know, a wonderful watch company based in Henley-on-Thames called Bremont, who make incredible luxury watches. They now sponsor the event. It's now called Bremont Stonor Supercar Sunday, and it's really just growing and growing. People love car things.
Congratulations! Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Is there anything else before we go? Okay. Well, a huge thank you, William. It's just been lovely. You know, I love talking about your beautiful home, so it's been.
Well, it's very good of you to set this up. Thank you very much.
No, it's absolutely wonderful. So a huge thank you, and I think looking at the comments, everyone has been has thoroughly enjoyed it too, which is.
Well, we really look forward to welcoming people here, and you know, obviously, if people have got questions, they can go to you, Sam, and they can come to we look forward to organising some really special days for everyone's clients.
Absolutely, absolutely. Brilliant.
Okay.
And we look forward to seeing you again on Friday, where we are exploring some of the best eating and drinking opportunities. And it's not just restaurants, there's foraging and all sorts that we can explore. So it would be lovely to see you again on Friday, and hopefully share a few surprises with you. But thanks so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you very soon. And thanks again, William.
You're welcome. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.